Welcome back, nerds, to episode 40 of Between Nerds. I'm here with my co-host, Drew. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, guys. Drew Elias here, co-host of Between Nerds podcast. This is episode 40, Nisemonogatari and Nekomonogatari Black. We are recording late because Aldo doesn't love you guys as much as I do. I'm going to tear the family apart because I'm dying on this ledge.
Yeah, man. Sorry.
Why? What happened, Aldo? Explain to us. Explain to me and your children what happened.
Hey, children. Get close. It's, I don't know, man. They sent me to Albuquerque last weekend.
The Gulag did.
For absolutely nothing. Yeah, the Gulag, a.k.a. my work, a.k.a. the company I work for. They sent me to Albuquerque, which on Saturday and Sunday, I was going to come back Sunday night. You know, obviously I have my baby at home. I want to be with my baby. I want to be with my girl. I want to record the podcast for you guys. But I ended up going. It turned out the electricians screwed us over. But, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I just came back early on Sunday.
And then what happened yesterday?
Yesterday, I was still at work on a down system, and then this morning I was still there at a down system.
It sounds like a lot of lying. I don't know why you would lie to me and your podcast audience like that. I'm just kidding.
But, dude, I was working. I got out of work. I got home. You got here, and now we're here.
We're here. We're recording. The gang's back together. Seymour Mendez just left the room. At the forefront of this episode, there is only 1 week left to enter the April giveaway. Please use hashtag Asian Nerds so that we can give to the Pan-Pacific American Leader Development Chapter in El Paso. And for every time you use hashtag Asian Nerds on Twitter or Instagram, you will automatically be entered into our April giveaway. But for every like and retweet you get, we will also be giving $1 to the Pan-Pacific American Leaders Foundation.
Yeah, and since it's going to be the last week, we will be, mentioning our winner for the month. We've gotten some likes, which we like, because now we can donate a little bit more on those comments and stuff. Mm-hmm. But not a lot of entries. Which, all right, whatever, guys.
There's like 3. That's more than we had a week ago, at least.
Yep.
Have we posted a picture yet of the giveaway? Because I know we spent some time trying to decide on what to get, and we got something relevant to what we've been watching recently. We got a Full Metal Alchemist Edward Elric figure.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, man. I want it for myself.
It looks pretty high quality. That's the thing. That's the thing with those. Like, you can get some cheap ones, but they end up being, like, super poor quality.
Yeah, it's like they're all, like, not painted well on the edges, and they're all shitty.
They start flaking.
But this is really good shit, bro. I got myself Homoda from Madoka Magica.
Shout out to Madoka Magica. They're making a 3rd movie.
Yeah.
We're ready. I'm completely ready.
Speaking of movies, we also watched Demon Slayer, but we will be talking about that in the Nerd Down. Right now, I don't know, man. We gotta discuss some crazy stuff.
Right. So, I guess technically, the Monogatari series is like 12 anime. All involving the same characters, all involving the same locations, but it's the Monogatari series is about a guy named Koyumi, but he's like a supernatural fighter. He's like an exorcist almost. Yeah. Like, he fights like supernatural beings that like possess other people. Yeah,
and I never read the manga or anything like that, but from what you've told me is that when we started watching Monogatari, it pretty much puts you on like the middle of the manga.
Yeah, and the Monogatari series is near and dear to my heart as far as when it comes to the podcast as well, because that was our first like prepared episode. That was the first episode we did with Lloyd Parker Jr. after the pilot. That's when we first like really realized maybe we could do something with this kind of format. We sat down and watched it an entire week, and we were able to really discuss it and break it down. I described it as a Stanley Kubrick film at the time. Mm-hmm. The Monogatari series, at least the anime adaptations, are hyper stylized, a lot of cutting, a lot of dialogue. It feels like
a lot of writing in the frames, which is also dialogue, because all this is subbed. We watched the sub. So.
It feels like I'm watching a Hateful Eight sometimes. Just like dialogue on dialogue and dialogue, and like just metaphors within pieces of dialogue.
if you were going to ask me the question of, what would Nisemonogatari or the Monogatari series, for what I've seen so far, is like a Rubik's Cube being like solved in front of you.
Yeah.
A very inappropriate Rubik's Cube.
It feels like The Hangover almost. Like the majority of the Hangover film is the guy spending the day after they get faced. Yeah, just trying to like piece together their day back together. Mm-hmm. And the Monogatari series feels like we're trying to piece together this guy's life because nothing's really explicitly said. There's not a lot of exposition, to be honest. If it is, they're describing some supernatural building, some supernatural being, and that like barely matters in
buildings.
Like, yeah, there might be supernatural buildings. I never watched past season 2, but fuck. So we this week we're discussing both Nisemonogatari and Nekomonogatari Black. In terms of where it fits in the storyline, Nisemonogatari is a direct sequel to Bakemonogatari because it opens up with Koyumi describing he's just kind of dicking around on his bike around town, but we know he's in a relationship with Senju Gahara already at this point, which is how we know it's a direct sequel to Bakemonogatari.
Correct.
But Nekomonogatari Black is a prequel to Bakemonogatari.
Yes.
And that's where it gets a little confusing. And not only that, it's episode 1. Well, the first couple episodes just feel like a reintroduction to characters from season 1.
Yeah.
A little bit, because it's just... Well, it Nisemonogatari
refers to the sisters.
No, actually, no. I originally thought it meant Nisan, but I looked it up. Nisemono means imposter. Monogatari means story. So this is the imposter story, which, even though it is about the sisters, it's calling them imposters.
Okay. Yeah, and but the introduction, like, I already saw Bakemonogatari, but like in the first episode, you have Araragi like strapped down by Senju Gahara, and where you're like, wait, what the fuck's going on?
He's in the abandoned cram school, like chained to a bunch of desks, but we know he's super powerful because we know he's like part vampire from part 1. They never fully explain that part either. We barely get it in like episode 4 of this season.
Yeah, so he has the power to heal and to like take like pictures with his eye, mental pictures with his eye.
That's just because he's a pervert.
Yeah, I
know. But he has the healing factor from a vampire.
Yes, and also he has super strength, obviously agility and shit. And we start off like that.
He's
and
chained up.
It's fucking crazy, dude, because already Monogatari series is like very crazy animated. So we have this like back and forth with Senju Gahara and Araragi. And it's just like, oh yeah, you like that, you fucking pervert,
because he's literally chained up in an abandoned building, and his girlfriend is literally just going to visit him day to day and be like, hey, don't fucking die, watch me drink this juice in front of your face.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you want some? Oh, you want some? It's like, lick it. Like, I know you want to.
It's disgusting, and that's like setting up how the rest of Nisemonogatari is, because one of the main gripes about Nisemonogatari is that it has so much more fan service than Bakemonogatari. Like that, Bakemonogatari had fan service a little bit, well, a little bit more than a little bit. Okay, but like Nisemonogatari like wants you to be uncomfortable. This series is not a breeze to watch. It is not a comfortable watch. It wants you to feel uncomfortable, not just in the fan service scenes, but just like the regular dialogue scenes, like you were talking about him being locked up. Because it's not just that he's locked up, it's that it's a lot of scene cutting. It's a lot of empty spaces, but not with like a set like scenery. Like it's a bunch of like random moving desks and a lot of jagged edges.
You have to pay attention to the background to see what room that is. Because at first, I'm watching this episode when they first cut to the living room. That's what I'm calling it, this room with the younger sister is there. It looks like there's like this art statue in the middle of on the living room. Is a couch all yellow, and then like the ceiling is super high with like this crisscross like red stuff. So it looks all artistic, and there's this like weird ass abstract art in the walls, and it's just cutting to that, and it's kind of like putting the dialogue together. And you're seeing it, and you're like, okay, that's the living room because it looks so abstract in the background.
Yeah, and it's he does a lot of wandering around the city too, but there's barely ever any moving vehicles. There's never people walking down the street, which we know to be really weird about like East Asia in general, not just Japan. And it's just, it could kind of be seen as a metaphor for him being in his own world, because he's just in his own headspace. You know what I mean? And he's meeting all these fantastical people. And if you're breaking it down like that, you start to wonder who's real and who's not. Like, who is just a figment of his imagination. And there's a point that the youngest sister, Tsukihi, what's her name?
Yeah.
Tsukihi, she makes fun of him, like in like episode 3 or episode 4, being like, "You don't even have any friends."
Like, yeah, I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
5 friends that he's made within the past week, because Bakemonogatari was the week before, and that's when he befriended all these girls.
Yeah.
And of course, like in the mind of like a loner pervert, like of course they're all hot women, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, are they real? Like, is this just a figment of his imagination? And if his goal is just to like exorcise everybody's demons, it's honestly the exact plot to Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Oh, really?
That is literally the plot to Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai, because that one tries to be more romantic. It's a little more slice of lifey, but it does have that fantastical aspect, because Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai starts with a scene of him in a library, and this girl's just walking around in like this, like a pinup Playboy bunny outfit. But she's invisible to everyone because she's being cursed by her own insecurities. And that's how he's going to... If he solves her mental illness, he solves her superstitious illness at the same time, which is the exact plot to the Monogatari series. Yeah. But here, in episode 1, I guess what I'm just trying to get off is that Senju Gahara, although she was the main character... Well, the main female character in Bakemonogatari, she's going to take a backseat after season 1. After season 1, she just does not matter.
She get benched, bro.
Yeah.
Even the character design wasn't like... I was like,
They don't follow up a whole lot with it. Like a little bit, because she's in like the midway fight scene in Nekomonogatari when they meet up with the main villain for the first half. But after this, it's just all about every other girl, and mainly his sisters, because it's about Karen and Tsukihi. And they're called the Fire Sisters. And the reason why I think it's called like Imposter Story, Nisemonogatari, is because they have like this really like false sense of justice. Like it's so justicey that it's like, that's not how the real world works. Because in the first half of the series is dealing with Karen getting poisoned by a supernatural bee because she has this false sense of justice and goes to fight like a supernatural guy head on.
Yeah, but then again, she wasn't sick, was she?
She was at first, like...
yeah, they thought she was sick, and then they talked to the guy that you're talking about.
Right.
And they're like, she was not sick, she's gonna...
It dissipates. I think that's what he was trying to say. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. I don't know why I brought that up already. Because episode 2 is episode 2 is when we start getting to the really ethically weird fan service, because there's a
episode 2?
Yeah, because there's a wandering apparition who's from Bakemonogatari, who's she Nadeko. She's like a snail almost, because she's just wandering around aimlessly, but she's in this spirit world all by herself. But Koyumi, as soon as he sees her, like, just picks her up and starts giving her kisses. And this is like a child, you know what I mean? She's supposed to be like an elementary school age girl, even though she's a ghost. And he's almost like flipping her, and there's like skirt scenes, and
it would be, I don't know, it's crazy because it's an appropriate hello. I mean, but that's short selling it because
he greets her with sexual harassment.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
And like the only reason this episode's even here is just like to see different ways that we're like learning more about Araragi's sexuality at the same time, because yes, he's really weird with Nadeko, but he's not like inappropriate or anything. Like, really, he's just like really huggy, and like it's like when you see like my dog, like I wanna hug and kiss my dog Jonathan, and that's how he treats her, like a puppy almost. But he
does the handstand.
Yeah, he does his handstand, and then he gets like this weird panty shot of like a child, and then you're like, Araragi, what the fuck? Why?
And they're showing you this, but then again, the story is trying to tell you that this is a fucking ghost, and this is a fucking vampire kid, and none of this fucking
none of this
just
matters.
An anime.
None of this matters. And that's the thing. Like, the series really wants you to be uncomfortable, because the very next scene is his sister Karen, the super athletic one in the yellow tracksuit, which reminds me of Kill Bill Volume 1.
The entire thing reminds me of Kill Bill.
The whole series?
Well, not the whole series. Probably the first 4 episodes, with especially the scenes with Senju Ahara. It reminds me of that anime scene in Kill Bill.
Oh, it does.
You know? Like, it's all like close-ups and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, fucking crazy.
No, you're exactly right. And it's, I don't know. I feel like this would be, I can't recommend this to everybody, and it'd be something that I could honestly feel like they could watch and not think I'm a weirdo for suggesting it.
You would have to have a long conversation with somebody like at the bar.
I would never recommend this to somebody at the bar. This has to be like a friend that already understands like what I'm trying to talk about.
No, absolutely. But even with a friend, you have to be like, oh, what do you watch? Oh, you watch this? Because, I mean, we watch this because we have this in common, and we watch a lot of shit.
Whoa. I don't have shit in common with you. Whoa.
You do, bro. This podcast, you have.
And, well, it gets worse because still in episode 2, in Bakemonogatari, Tsukihi has a classmate who is younger than Araragi, and her name is Nadeko.
Which we see on Bake. She's a monkey paw girl, right?
No. This is the girl that had the snake possessed by her.
You're right.
So, she calls up Araragi and like... Or no, he calls her up because he's bored or something and doesn't expect her to answer. She does answer because... At a certain point, he's being kind of, like, manipulative because he knows this younger girl has, like, a huge crush on him. And he's just bored with nothing better to do. And he's like, oh, I know she's looking forward to my phone call. And I bet if I hit her up, she'll invite me over or some shit. Which is exactly what happens. Like, this middle school girl, like, invites this like, third year in high school over, which means he's, like, 18. Yeah. And, she fuck. There's, like... I can't even describe it. There's like more inappropriate fan service here because it's an underage character. She's trying to seduce this person that's an adult, and she's wearing like a skirt and like spaghetti straps, and she tells him like at the door, like, hey, come inside, my parents aren't home.
And she fixes her hair, and she's like, oh, come on in. It's like, let's play games like we used to. And she's like, you want to play the king game?
Yeah, like,
and it gets fucking crazy because it's just like cuts after cuts of her, like, of her torso, of her legs, of her shoulder, of her shoulder, and like the strap is like almost undone, like under her shoulder.
Because she has the temperature in the house hot, and like she brings him directly into the bedroom, not even just hanging out, just in the living room or something, directly in the bedroom, and she's like, Araragi, you sit on the bed.
Like this anime series should call like, where the fuck are this kid's parents?
Everybody's parents. Where the fuck is everybody's parents? Yeah. Like, Araragi's parents are, like, brought up all the time. They're brought up nonstop, but, like, we never get to see them.
Yeah, it's like, who's not in the house to prevent all of this?
It reminds me of Ed, Edd and Eddy. Mm-hmm. It reminds me, it's just a bunch of kids fucking...
They were all dead, bro.
Well, it's because in Ed, Edd and Eddy, it was summer vacation. So that was the logic behind it. It was that it's the kids just fucking around in the middle of the day while the parents are working, which is kind of what's happening here.
Yeah.
And so she gets him to start taking his clothes off because she has it hot in the house. And then she starts taking her sweater off. And she's like, oh, do you like my hair so much? Oh, let's play Twister. They play fucking Twister.
Like heavy dialogue of like how inappropriate they've been.
Yeah, we hear so much of his subconscious and how much of him being like, oh, this is wrong. This
and
is
again,
weird.
if you listen to the first episode of this podcast, we mentioned that his hair is like phallic fucking imagery.
Yeah.
She like to see what he's really feeling on your, on your jellies.
He has a cowlick that will get an erection with him, and that's our cue as the audience to be like, oh.
And it happens in some weird parts, and it's never mentioned.
A lot of conversations with his sisters.
Yeah.
Super weird. And also, in his inner monologue at the same point when she's with her, he's thinking of Senjo Gahara. Because he's still thinking like, oh, I got to see Senjo Gahara after this. I got to something. It's just, like, at a certain point, he doesn't think he's cheating. But, like, I think to the rest of us, we think, like, that's not something you would do in the realms of dating someone. Like,
yeah, but at this point, that aspect of the series seems very minimal to what the fuck is going on around it.
Hey, cheating's always relevant, Aldo Mendez.
It is. I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying otherwise.
Okay.
I'm just saying that there's some fucking incest underage fucking dialogue previous to like, hey, I know you were hanging out with the girls, but that's okay. Because
Senjo Gahara goes along with it way more, because there's a certain piece of dialogue where he's just fucking around riding his bike around town, runs into her, and she's like, who are you with? I know you. How many girls did you go play with today? And it's like 4 different girls that he's just running through in his head, and he's just like, none of them?
Yeah, and then she comes out with this like dialogue of like, I don't care. Like, I know we're gonna end up together, and I love you forever, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. And then she's like, I don't care about adultery. Yeah, the dialogue was like, I don't care about you being adultery as long as it doesn't get serious, because then I'll kill you.
Yeah. That's the exact piece of dialogue. The translation uses the word adultery. So, like, yeah, in her head, you could almost interpret that as being she's considering them married already. They've been dating a week as far as this series is concerned.
Yeah.
And from there, I can't even remember how it happens. I think he's just trying to escape this weird situation with this underage girl, because Senjo Gahara has an underclassman that looks up to her, and it's the chick with the monkey paw from Bakemonogatari, Kanbaru. And she, because it's summer, the idea is the chick that's the cat, the Hanakawa. Because it's the summer, he's supposed to be studying for his school exams, which are going to be coming up in the semester after the summer. So he's supposed to be going to see Hanakawa every day to go study, because she's the bookworm of the class and the class president and all that. Because when he's locked up by Senjo Gahara in episode 1, she's also telling him like, oh, I feel bad that I'm taking you away from Hanakawa right now. And to that end, Senjo Gahara has another like rivalry female, or I guess this female character is more of a rivalry to Araragi as opposed to Senju Gahara, because she's Senju Gahara's underclassman and she has a huge crush on her. Que lesbiana. But at that same time, to catch up Araragi, and she knows that he's a horny little pervert, when she answers the phone, she's like, hey, I'm naked. Come, like, help me clean my room, because you're so good at cleaning my room. Which sounds like an invitation to sex in and of itself. You know what I mean? Like, come clean my room with me. And
she's naked and like...
And she's supposed to be fit, you know what I mean? She's the best athlete in the school. And like, so the other half of this episode, we get like more fan service, or this is the first half of episode 3, we get a different level of fan service, because this is now 2 characters that are only supposed to be like a year apart or something like that. But at that same point, she's not attracted to him, but she's trying to take advantage that he's attracted to her to like catch him up in a weird situation. And because she even uses a piece of dialogue, because she's such a butch, that she's like, Araragi, I want you to be my wife. Like that ownership of like husbandry over a wife a little bit, which like is progressive writing in a different way, kind of. It's you get what I'm saying? It's like,
wasn't the dialogue like, we need to get married?
Yeah. It was like, it's easy for girls to take advantage of you because you're so nice.
Yeah.
And a lot of the conversations just turn into these witty back and forths that are like, I tried taking notes as every episode was happening, but you can't even keep up. It's literally like watching a Quentin Tarantino movie. There's just so much just heavy, wordy, snippy dialogue that you can't catch up. It really feels like watching The Hateful Eight sometimes. Like,
yeah, like the dialogue, it's like seeing a group of friends that they know each other and they talk the way they talk.
Yeah, but they're all smart too, because it's like it's big abstract like phrases.
Yeah, and it's just a back and forth every time. It's like almost like playing like ping pong just with the fucking dialogue.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like a ping pong with words, because they're going along this conversation and they're talking about mistresses and they're talking about him cheating with Kanbaru, and at a certain point she's like, I'd be okay with being your mistress. And again, like the phallic cowlick, it like goes straight up, and it's just like, what do you mean you want to be my mistress? And she's like, I can imagine a world where you're married to Senju Gahara and you're still cheating on her with me.
And then this fucking like train of thought that they illustrate with animation is that, well, yeah, you're not gonna end up with Senyohara because I'm gonna end up with Senyohara, but you can end up with one of the other girls, and then he thinks that he wants to be with a young girl.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it's crazy. And this is just like a split second of animation. It's just like,
yeah. And you're supposed to pick up so much from it, because the act of cleaning the room is so stylized and weird. It doesn't even make sense, because it's like there's conveyor belts within the room, and the only mess in the room is that it's filled with books. It's literally all copies of the same book. And it's like a romance novel from like 18th century Europe or something. And so the act of him cleaning the room is him putting like stacks of books
together
on a conveyor belt or putting them together.
Yeah.
And it's because there's a scene where he has the room almost completely cleaned and it's just stacks of books everywhere, and she pins him down inside of a stack of books, and because she's stronger than he is, I guess technically not, because he's a vampire, but like she pins him down, and she starts like lifting up his shirt, and like, you know, he's a virgin dude who's like 17 years old, so like he starts freaking out, and she's all lifting up his shirt and be like, oh, what is Senju Gahara seeing you, and this and that, which is like, it's kind of like he's getting like his just desserts, because he goes around like sexually harassing all these other girls, and now this girl who's seen as more masculine in this conversation is dominating him and like making him uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's fucking hilarious to see.
It's stupid funny at the time, because like you're watching this episode for 15 minutes straight and just trying to keep up, and then all of a sudden you get like that like comedic payoff, and you're like, oh, thank God, like that the tension just like leaves the back of your brain for a second.
You're just like, yeah, and and it's hilarious. I was meant to think that he got a blowjob.
You think so?
Yeah, because like the way he was grabbing her.
I don't think so, because she was lifting off his shirt. She took his pants off. I remember, because you see like both his underwear and his pants being taken off and being flipped up screen. But I don't think it would go that far, because like immediately
it's left like to the imagination, because they don't show anything.
I feel like he would be more guilty, because Senju Gahara does end up later in this episode. Because immediately after leaving Kanbaru's place, we meet Kaiki, who's going to be like the main villain for the first half of Nisemonogatari. And he's like a bounty hunter. He's like Araragi's mentor, who goes around hunting apparitions. And because I guess Kanbaru had the monkey paw curse from Bakemonogatari, he heard about him, and Kaiki came to like collect a bounty on her. Mm-hmm. But then he gets there and he finds out there's no bounty, and he just seems more like a vampire than Araragi is, because the animation flips a lot. Like there's like a little creek separating them and starting to look like a river of blood. There's a blood red moon. It's sunset. He's got pointy hair like you see Dracula in the movies sometimes. Yeah. Like he looks like a vampire.
It's crazy that how we're talking about it, because there's so much in just one episode.
Right.
There's so much.
We're in episode 3.
Yeah. And a lot of shit is happening. And then, again, the imagery, too. Like, you're seeing weird-ass angles of the room all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
It wants you to feel uncomfortable, because this is what it's like living inside, like, a teenage boy's brain. It's just, it is weird angles. And So, immediately after meeting Kaiki, he meets up with Senju Gahara walking down the street. And that's where we get the conversation about, like, him not committing adultery. But what he does bring up is that he met Kaiki, and Senju Gahara's mood changes really quickly. And she's like, I told you when we first met that there were 7 people that scammed me when trying to get rid of her apparition, which was a...
crab?
It was a crab god. Yeah, that stole her weight or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so she, all of a sudden, she's really apprehensive. And the way the scene played out to me, it felt like, from Araragi's perspective, it's like if your girl were to tell you, like, about an abusive ex or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Then that's what I was gonna go. Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, because she's super defensive, but she's stern, and she's like, I'll confront him myself. Like, this is something I need to deal with. Mm-hmm. And he, trying to be the comforting boyfriend, is like, no, like, we'll do it together. But there's just a pattern of abuse you can tell, like, in the rest of her dialogue in this episode.
And honestly, fucking Araragi, throughout this episodes, I mean, he almost kind of like silver tongue her way into Kamburu, like, doing something. Didn't he push her buttons at some point and tease her, and then that's why she reacted that way?
Yeah, a little bit.
So she kind of, I believe that he kind of tricked her. Also, like how he tricked the snail girl on that handstand thing. So he's not really...
You think he tricked his way in the head? Like he's Barney Stinson or something?
I don't know.
I think he liked getting undressed. I do not think it went anything more than that. Because, I don't know. I don't see adultery being portrayed that casually in anime.
Yeah.
Because it's usually a really big deal, even like holding hands or something. I can't imagine full on like cheating on the girl you started dating a week ago casually with like somebody that looks up to her.
Domestic Girlfriend has showed us otherwise.
Love Domestic Girlfriend. Win season 2. Give it to us immediately.
2. By the way, please use hashtag Asian Nerds. But yeah, man.
Yeah, please use hashtag Asian Nerds. But barely getting into around episode 4. This is where like we really start getting scenes with just the sisters, and it's Tsubahi and Karen, and that's where we get the full-on explanation about how they're fire sisters, and they're these middle school girls that go around punching adults in the face for being mean to kids, and what we I don't know. We get a lot of more, like, really stylized stuff, like moonlight shading behind clouds. And what's cool is that it doesn't seem very high budget, the animation, but because everything's moving in the background, we know it is. Like, even at night when it's cloudy and the moon's coming in and out of clouds, like, that's kind of expensive to animate, especially for something like this.
The animation looks fucking ridiculous, dude. It's crazy. The shadows, the angles. Sometimes they fuck up, I guess, the front angles, because they did try to do a lot of front angles in this one. And some of them look pretty weird. But overall, a lot of the fucking weird shots that they take and the imagery of the area that they're at, it just looks ridiculous.
Bringing up weird shots, do you know what a dakimakuru is?
Dakimakuru?
Dakimakura. Dakimakura.
Dakimakura?
Daki to mean embrace or cling, and makura to mean pillow.
Huh.
What? No. But what is that? In like, it's those body pillows, those anime body pillows.
Oh, okay.
Because there's in the first half of this episode, episode 4, after the conversation with the fire sisters, he goes upstairs and finds out that Hanakawa, the girl possessed by the cat, who's the class president and the number 1 in his class that's supposed to be helping him study, is already there, like kind of scolding him for fucking off with these girls all day and not studying with her. But again, we get a lot of these weird like body angles and a lot of these weird shots. And what you keep seeing, well, what I kept seeing, maybe I wanted to see it, but is that Hanakawa, the way she's laying on his bed is shaped like the body pillow. Because you'll see like a pan directly overshot of just the whole bed, like the body pillow, and it's just her posed in like an angle or like
okay, I gotcha.
And again, like he's thinking of her sexually. Like every time his eye blinks, he's getting like a screenshot of like her skirt or her leg or.
It's fucking nuts, bro. And
it's almost, and that's what makes the like the fan theory about it all being fake and in his head. That's like it's instances like this that make me think that maybe that is what's happening, because this guy's a fucking loser. Why would all these girls like have this really strange like comfortableness and infatuation with him? Like with how conservative Japan is, you're telling me the smartest, most conservative girl in school is just laying on his bed casually and just like not really minding like which way her skirt's pointing and stuff like that?
Yeah, the whole thing is just... Remember that movie we watched, the black and white movie we saw when we were chill, they were dead?
Yeah.
You know,
what was that movie called? The one about math?
Pi. Yeah, as the number 3.14 pi. Yeah. Yeah, man. It just reminds me of like that kind of like quick like close-ups on the characters of the dialogue. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Because so he leaves after she leaves, blue balling him, and like he's like, I'm gonna chill out and take a bath, and that's how I'm gonna lose my bone erection. And that's where we finally meet the image of a vampire that lives within his shadow, because he's taking a bath and out comes an 8-year-old girl anime model, a lolly of Shinibu, which is like this blonde vampire that lives inside of his shadow. Shinobu, excuse me. And
Shinobu, yes.
If anything, this scene, I'm not going to say I like it, but I like it because it's not as sexualized as the other scenes we've seen. And because she's full on naked, just taking a bath with him. He's shampooing her hair because she lives within his shadow and sees him shampooing his hair. And she's like, I want you to do that on me. And he teases her about donuts, and they're sitting in the actual bathtub together, like a literal, like Western style, small, like European bathtub. And he's not sexualizing her. Like they're just chilling. You know what I mean? Like they're a part of each other because she shares his powers with him, and he shares like his life force and his eating with her. And it's like that understanding because they're like the same person. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't weirdly like sexualize yourself like that. I guess not. But yeah. And that's what I took away from this, because what we get is a kind of like, again, there's like these really long pieces of really smart dialogue and like introspections on the characters breaking down each other's motivations. And then out of nowhere, we get Tsubaki like just opening the door to the bath, seeing a little blonde girl with him, and coming back with a knife. Yeah, and closing the door and coming back with a knife. And all of a sudden, Tsubaki's gone. Yeah.
It was crazy, dude. Again, this is the first time watching it, and I don't know what is going on next. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, you're seeing this fucking lolly just interact with this dude, but we know that's what you mentioned about her living in her shadow and stuff. It's fucking crazy, dude.
And again, it's this giant, like, it looks like a temple inside of this bathroom, like where the bathtub is. It looks like a church almost. It's so large and empty. And we know that no bath in Japan is like that. Just like one tiny tub inside of this giant bathroom. It's so stylized, and it's supposed to just like signify like his big empty fucking head. Like,
and then again, this is right before he goes to see Miss Senyuagahara, right?
Episode 4 ends where we finally learn about the Wreath Fire Bee. The Wreath Fire Bee, because Karen's starting to get a fever, and we know she's sick. And so partially why what's her name, Hanakawa, was at the house was like to explain that she's been hanging out with the Fire Sisters, and she let them know where Kaiki is. And so Karen went to go front Kaiki, and he poisoned her with an apparition of a Wreath Fire Bee thing. And that's what, so she's coming down with like she's coming down with fucking COVID, like a really bad fucking fever, and like is being bedridden. And him being a brother, he's worried. And that's where Shinobu gives him the idea that as his vampire self, and since he has a healing factor, to just like suck the poison out of her. And
he gives his sister.
Yeah.
His sister.
Yeah, because, okay, well, that happens at the end of episode 5. Okay, so yeah. So episode 5 happens, he comes out of the bath, And it's a complete continuation of the coming out of the bath scene because he goes and sees Tsubahi, the youngest sister, and he's like, yo, why the fuck you breaking in on me? And like his robe's falling and she's wearing a kimono and he's trying to harass her about wearing a kimono and showing legs, but she's yelling at him for being like a pervert, stupid older brother. And then Hanekawa like is leaving the house at the same time and his towel falls, so he like exposes himself in front of the class president. But yeah, so at a certain point, like the second half of season 5 is he offers to give Karen a bath, his older younger sister, and because she's all sick and can't he like towels her down since she's too sick to take an actual bath.
Yeah.
So again, like he's being awfully comfortable with his sister, and his grand idea to like take the wreath fire bee poison out of her is he kisses his sister on the lips.
Yeah, it's spicy, but it's uncomfortable spicy.
It's
because you're just like, whoa.
It's a lot. It really is a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just like her legs are flailing. It's a lot of heavy breathing. But like. Thankfully, the beginning of episode 6, the reaction is what it would be. Like, she, like spinning, like, why the fuck? Why would you do that? Why am I losing my first kiss to my older brother? Like, that's so fucking weird. And, like, you would hope that'd be the reaction because I don't fucking know. So, that's when, what you're talking about, he goes to see Senjo Gahara. Because she goes to her, like, rickety house, which she knows her parents got divorced because they lost a bunch of money to the swindlers that were supposed to exorcise the crab god demon that stole all her weight and was making her sick. So now she lives in like this tiny little wooded apartment room, basically. I was gonna say building or like apartment. It's just literally a room. It's and she invites him over, and that's where she explains to Araragi, like, I have Kaiki's business card, like, if we're gonna go fuck him up because he tried to poison your sister.
Yep. And they go meet him again at the spot. It's like outside like a plaza.
Well, I want to talk about we get a flashback scene, or we get a scene that's described as the pieces he's been able to fit together about Karen's meeting with Kaiki. Because Karen wears like a bright ass yellow jumpsuit, and Kaiki's character model is a literal vampire. And I think, like, it's the imposter story. It's Nisemonogatari because she has a false sense of justice. It's like when, like, Batman's on the wrong side of the law. It was like when Iron Man in Civil War had, he was working outside of the law because he was working more on morality than Captain America was on, like, hey, like, this dude had been brainwashed this whole time. It wasn't his fault, but Iron Man strictly wanted revenge. Karen has that same false sense of justice almost that I see Iron Man having in, like, Captain America Civil War, because the scene with Kaiki is a bunch of black and white lines, but because it's a fucking Monogatari series, like, nothing's standing still, so it's a bunch of lines moving and going. It looks like a fucking...
And then you start catching on that everybody's using the word like, oh, you're fake.
Yeah.
You're fake.
Yeah.
You're fake. You're fake. But I don't know.
Well, Karen goes to kick his ass originally because he was selling charms to middle schoolers.
Yes, and those charms, we know that they're like the curses, you know, that you get from what we've seen in Monogatari. But just the... Oh, fuck, what was I going to say? The
scene? Are we still on the Kaiki scene?
Yeah. He goes to beat him up, but I don't know, man. I don't see it as what you're saying with like the Batman example, because or the Iron Man example.
I can see it as Batman too. What are you gonna say?
I don't know. I just don't. I see that the imposter is this and that, but
I think that's why there's the black and white stylized lines in the background, because in her mind, her sense of justice is very black and white. You know what I mean? It's right and it's wrong, and there's no in between. And like Kaiki, he's a businessman at heart, and he has a sense of morality, but he's out to make like a buck at the end of the day.
But then again, do you know what? I don't think she is the imposter that we're supposed to be.
No, well, literally, Hatsuki's the imposter.
Yeah, Hatsuki.
Tsubahi.
Tsubahi?
The youngest sister.
The youngest sister, right? Because of what we know, what happens at the end.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
She's a literal imposter, but I'm trying to relate them both here because episodes 1 through 7 are called Karen B. Because they're about Karen Araragi. And, that's how I logic her as part of the imposter story is, she's an imposter for how she feels about, justice and morality and the law and everything like that.
Okay.
But, so, yeah, I just wanted to bring... Because I think that scene's on YouTube. If I were just to show you one scene that describes all the stylization we're trying to describe in this anime, is just look up the scene in Nisemonogatari that's Karen with Kaiki, because just all the colors in the animation and just the mind fucking and just how hard it is to sit through this 2-minute scene is what it feels like to watch the entirety of the series, but in a good way, kind of. It's challenging in a good way.
Yeah.
And it's
a weird movie.
It's definitely a weird anime. And
a weird anime.
So after the scene with Senju Gahara and she finds Kaiki's business card, she calls Kaiki, tells him to meet up. They meet at an abandoned playground.
Okay.
And you don't remember that?
I thought it was on the stairs. There were some stairs.
It's not a playground. It's not a playground. It's like a carnival almost, or a theme park.
Theme park? Oh.
Yeah, because in the background, Araragi and Senju Gahara are at the bottom of the stairs you're describing. Behind their shoulders is a Ferris wheel. No, not a Ferris wheel. A merry-go-round. Okay. Or what's it called? Where it's the little horses in a circle.
Carousel.
Carousel. It's one of those. It's a carousel. And then in the background of him is a theater. Okay. And then we see other Ferris wheels and other amusement park pieces in the background. But yeah,
I must have listed because it's very easy to fucking.
It's very easy to miss. You have to be this is probably my 3rd, 4th time watching Nisemonogatari.
Yeah.
So I've probably seen Bakemonogatari 5-6 times. But yeah, it takes a bunch of watch throughs just to know what you're looking for in a given scene. And what we learn about Kaiki is that he's a crow, you know what I mean? He's black and he's a bird and he just flies from location to location, just spreading misery. And to him, he doesn't take it personally, and it's just this huge standoff and a discussion between all 3 of these characters that comes down to Senju Gahara at one point maybe having previously been in love with Kaiki, and it's denied by Senju Gahara, but Kaiki brings it up. But what we were describing from the previous episode is the way Senju Gahara acts when talking about him is the way you hear a girl talk about an abusive ex-boyfriend or something like that. And
the reason I guess if you are gonna watch this, once you get past through those uncomfortable parts, there's these kind of fucking dialogue exchanges that is really good.
And just you trying to work through this piece of dialogue for me makes the whole series worth it, because it's he said, it's a difference between he said, she said, but it's also in terms of he's an adult. She was 2 years to a year younger, making her 15, 16 years old at the time, meaning it's again in a case of an adult abusing a child here. And although Senju Gahara is a textbook tsundere, she's she's super abusive and belittling and degrading, but at the end of the day, she'll cut your fucking dick off if you cross her because she's that much in love with you, you know what I mean?
This dude gets fucking degraded the entire,
but he likes it. It's also a case of masochism at the exact same time. It's but okay, so the end of the conversation where Senju Gahara swears she was in love, Kaiki's this little girl is in love with me, and that's why I didn't give her the time of day. And Kaiki just agreeing to leave town after having this adult conversation with these teenagers is Senju Gahara just looking at Araragi and telling him, be gentle to me tonight. Which I think that's the most textbook like invitation to intimacy that I think this series has shown so far. Even though you think the scene with Kanbaru was
I thought there was multiple, because I also remember this part, and I also think this part was cool too.
Well, I still don't think he fuck Kanbaru. Maybe that's me being ignorant, because maybe my own like personal narrative needs him not to be cheating or something like that. Anyways,
there's a lot going on, dude.
There's a fuck ton going on. Oh my god, I'm trying to keep my fucking brain together.
Okay, they come to a fucking agreement at the confrontation with
Kaiki.
Kaiki, yeah. And what happens? Karen disappears in the next episode, correct? Are we there yet?
No, I don't think so. Yes.
Yeah.
No, fuck. No? It's confusing because the next episode, episode 8, is Tsukihi Phoenix Part 1. So what's cool about the Monogatari series is that they will number the episodes for you. They will be like, this is the arc within the season. So Karen B episodes 1 through 7 were episodes 1 through 7 of Nisemonogatari. Starting with episode 8, we have Tsukihi Phoenix Part 1. And this is like, although we're supposed to be focusing on Tsukihi now, which is the youngest Araragi sister, we're still kind of stuck on Karen because this is where the toothbrushing scene happens.
Yeah, my bad.
Because so Karen just had this whole like she also, or it hasn't happened yet, but Karen like kicks Araragi's ass at the same time, and it looks like a Dragon Ball Z fight because she's like breaking overpasses and freeways like over his head to describe her sense of justice, and he's just kind of like taking a beating like we see him doing a lot and using his healing factor as a vampire. But anyways, so after like Karen is she's cured of like the bee poison, because part of what Kaiki said in the last episode was like, yes, I poisoned her, but like she won't die from it, and it's gonna wear off in a few days anyways. And she's gonna be more fired up than ever, or some shit like that, right? Yeah, just because she's a fire sister or whatever. So like we're supposed to believe that Kaiki's not a completely bad person. So the next episode is Araragi trying to study, and Karen comes in, but she's wearing the youngest sister's clothes, and she's trying to be less masculine in her tracksuit, and she's trying to wear a skirt and like a tank top, and like she's got her hair tied back, and she wants her brother's opinion on what he thinks of the more feminized her. Who the fuck is bullying you? What's going on? Tell me their names.
And she's embarrassed, but then again, the way that they're serving you this, it's like her wanting to get any reaction out of her brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of weird, but like I said, the dialogue's like boom, boom, back and forth. Oh, that is. Oh, who's bullying you? Oh, nobody's bullying me. Oh, then who did this to you? Tell me. And it's just crazy. But the imagery, again, is fucking ridiculous.
And there, in some of these these cutting scenes and these crazy pieces of dialogue, there's a piece that looks like it's out of like Astro Boy, like 90s animation, where it looks like what you think the manga to Speed Racer looks like in certain scenes, where it's just like
during the fight they have.
No, but like in lots of pieces of dialogue, like he does it with Senju Gahara, he does it with Tsukihi, he does it with Karen. You can barely catch it, but it does. It's a flash of just what looks like just like 90s manga animation.
Yes, I get you.
But anyways, so right here, he's making fun of her, being like, "Who's bullying you?" And she just wants to be feminized and like be treated like a grown woman and be cute. And fuck, I can't even remember how we get to the scene, but he tries making a deal with her.
Yes, I remember. She is like, I'm gonna give you my virginity. He's like, what? No, I'm not. No, I don't want your virginity. Blah blah, this and that. It's like, and then he said something about Kumburu. He's like, Kanburu. Oh, Kanburu. He's like, oh, something, Kanburu. He's like, oh,
what? That was right. Because she's an athlete and she's a third year in middle school. She knows that Kanburu is the best athlete at the high school. And she knows that her brother's cool with Kanburu. So she's like, yo, I'm going to make a deal with you. Like, we're gonna play a game, and if I win, you gotta introduce me to Kanbaru.
A fight. It was a fight.
She wanted to fight because she knew she could kick her brother's ass. Which is also funny because I don't know, like, it's very quick and you don't see a lot of them at like standing at the same height and standing next to each other. But she's taller than him. Mm-hmm. Karen's taller than Araragi. So like she's a big girl, you know what I mean? She's like an 8th grader.
Yeah, there's an episode where he carries him and he looks pretty.
And he looks pretty small. Yeah. And I think that's funny because like. The anime is doing the same thing with his relation with Ganbaru as it does with Karen, because these bigger, stronger, more masculized women still are bitching him out. You know what I mean? Like, he's the bitch in this conversation. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, the game they end up playing is he's like, I know how I'm going to freak her the fuck out. He grabs her toothbrush, wets it, and is like, okay, I'm going to brush your teeth for 5 minutes. And if you can take it for all of 5 minutes, then I'll introduce you to Kanbaru. It turns into like softcore hentai between a brother and a sister right here. Because it's like, there's a lot of moaning, heavy breathing, twitching of thighs. What's cool about all the Araragi designs is they all have the cowlick that kind of shows like their libido. So you see both their cowlicks going crazy. You see like it, and it's a lot of blushing, and it's a lot of like him being like, we don't gotta go through this if you're gonna bitch out about like me trying to brush your teeth intimately. And she's like, no Nissan, go for it. And it's like, again, like it's a fucking hentai.
Dude, I was here scared that a nerd was gonna suggest us a fucking anime like this, and I hear you bring up fucking Nisemonogatari. It's fucking crazy. Like, when you watch anime, you can't just jump and watch, oh, I'm gonna jump on Crunchyroll and watch this anime. You can be fucking surprised what it can be in.
You gotta know what your audience is too. Like, I watched this while Karen was asleep, and I was like, just don't wake up for the next 5 minutes.
Bro, I was watching it on the living room, and I was just sitting there. Vianney usually doesn't sit and read the fucking the subtitles. But then she started reading. But this was in the first episodes, like in first 2 episodes, I think. But she was in and out, and I was like, yeah, I can't watch this. I can't watch this. If she's gonna be reading, I can't watch this.
No, absolutely not. And it's so... Anyways, it gets worse. Because Tsukihi walks in on them. They're like, he starts mounting her. Like, it's starting to look like it's actually gonna like happen. Like, they're gonna go through with this act.
There's a fucking piece of dialogue where, like, as he's brushing her teeth, she's like, go for it.
Yeah, just go for it.
And then this was just like his hand, the image is like his hand like reaching at her chest. And it's just fucking
and he starts mounting her. She's laying with her back on the bed, and he starts getting like on top of her.
And then the door opens. Little sister comes in, is like, why is my brother on top of my sister? And what is she looks like she's like liking it? And why does he look so happy? And what if, like a child would.
Yeah.
But, and then she leaves, and then they get separated, and then they go at it again.
Yeah, immediately after Tsukihi leaves, Karen's just like, do we continue or what?
Yeah.
And that's the whole episode. That's like the end of episode 8, bro. Like, that's the whole episode is just this toothbrush scene.
Why?
The whole episode is just like this hypersexualized teeth brushing.
And brother-sister teeth brushing, yeah.
Yeah, awful. Don't watch Nisemonogatari, but watch it because it's good. But, like, don't like it because of those reasons.
Yeah.
But, like...
Don't hate it also.
Don't hate it because of those reasons.
Yeah.
But definitely don't like it because of those
definitely don't like it.
So, yeah, the next episode is the scene you're talking about. Because, like, she's doing kung fu, like, on the guard railing. And she's all flexible and she's doing flips and shit. And she suggests that Araragi like gets on her shoulders.
Oh well, they're on their way to introduce her to Kanbaru.
To Kanbaru, that's right. Because like he felt so bad, he just kind of like he's just like, you win the game, whatever.
Not even, because they went through it before they went at it again. She was like, "Oh, dude, did you just see the clock? Like I beat you." And then they were like, "Do you want to keep going?" And then they kept going. And then end of anime. And then this is where we are.
I hate this anime, bro. Okay, so you're completely right. Like they go for seconds.
And it just ends like that. It just ends like him getting harassed by Kanbaru. It ends the same way.
No, by Karen.
By Karen?
Karen's the
no, yeah, but it ends the same way.
Oh, it ends the same way as episode 2.
And as Sanjuhara as well.
Right, okay. Yeah. So you're right. They're going, episode 9, they're going to Kanbaru's house. And there's a episode in Bakemonogatari where Hanakawa, the cat chick, cuts off her hair, and that's like her escaping like her cat persona that's like possessing her, which is also like a representation of her stress. And that's how she seems more adult. There's a scene in Bakemonogatari season 2 where Senjugahara also cuts off her hair, and that's her becoming a woman and like not being no longer an impressionable child. So right here in episode 9, we get a exact same scene with Karen, where she's trying to be strong and like lift her brother, but her childish ponytail's getting in the way. So she immediately cuts off her ponytail, and like she feels liberated and so much stronger because of it. And that's the scene I was talking about, where she also kicks his ass up and down the street. Mm-hmm. And in that piece of dialogue, that's where I get my my explanation on why she's an imposter, because the latter half of that fight and her kicking his ass is him explaining how wrong her sense of justice is. And it's him being like, no, like you're a false fighter. Like you're not really like in it for the people. You are trying to fight, air quotes, justice for your own fun. Like you're not doing it for the betterment of like society or anything. And that's what makes her an imposter.
Mm-hmm. I don't see it that way because of the next episodes where he checks on the sister's scar. Right?
Yeah. Hold on. Just finish the episode, because
where are we? On 9?
We're still in episode 9. Karen cuts off her hair. They go, Karen and Kanbaru meet, but outside of Kanbaru's house, we find another pair of like spiritual fighters or
apparitions.
What apparition fighters, or what are we calling them?
I don't know, but we meet another like the one with the hat on the orange. Yeah,
so we meet Yotsugi Ononoki, who is seemed as more of a familiar to the actual girl Yozuru Kagenui, and they're outside of the Araragi house, because he goes back home after introducing Karen and Kanbaru, and he meets these girls outside of there, and that's when they're like, hey, we're here to grab this immortal phoenix or something. Mm-hmm. And that's where we really get into the swing of things of why these episodes are called Tsukihi and Phoenix, because it turns out the younger sister is an apparition all in of herself. Like, she is not possessed by an apparition. She is an apparition, because it's almost like cuckoos how they'll like knock out an egg of a different nest so that a bird of a different species can raise their child as their own. Mm-hmm. So the idea here is that Araragi's mom, when pregnant with the original Tsukihi, kind of implanted the phoenix egg within her, and she gave birth to an immortal phoenix. Mm-hmm. And that's like what you're talking about here, because whatchamacallit, he goes inside the house, sees Tsukihi in a kimono, and he remembers that she had a scar from when she was born. And he remembers both his mom and the doctor saying that scar would never heal. And then he sees her bare chest, and he's like, what happened to that scar? What's going on? And that's when he starts suspecting things. That's when we start, his spidey sense starts getting that she's an apparition. And it's just, episode 10 is just introducing us more to these Ghostbuster people And I want to watch more of the Monogatari series because I think Onoki, the familiar, I see her a lot in like Monogatari, like figurines and like merchandise and stuff like that. But she's not really a big part of what I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, man, because it's crazy. And still, there's a lot we didn't mention because there's also like this subplot with him and the snail girl. You know, that they're still interacting. Also, his shadow spirit girl.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Shinobu.
We have these instances where she pops off because he's scared for Karen. He's like, "Hey, yo, I can feel that you're scared. What are you doing? I'm trying to relax." And she just pops out, and there's a lot that is going on. It's crazy. I need to watch it again. This is your third time watching this.
Well, we're not even done because
I know we're not even done.
Just Nisemonogatari, they save all the fighting that like you might want to see for episode 11 because it's basically Araragi tells Shinobu that like they're gonna double team fight Ononoki and Kagenui because they go to the abandoned cram school and they just duke it out. You know what I mean? It's just Araragi just getting his ass kicked and he's getting limbs cut off. Like, there's a lot of gore in Monogatari, and that's what people don't talk about a lot. Like, even in Bakemonogatari, like, he's getting, like, limbs cut off all the time, like, ripped off, not even cut off. And, like, there's a bunch of blood. The fights are super, super gory. Like, it's more realistic. Like, what if supernatural beings actually fought each other? They just fuck each other up and it'd be just gore and body parts everywhere.
Yeah, it looks fucking ridiculous. It looks fucking crazy.
And that's exactly what happens here because Shinobu like comes out of his shadow and sucks some of his blood, and when she gets some of his life force, she's able to seem more grown up. So she seems like she's like a young adult here, like she's 20 something years old, and she goes to fight the familiar Anoku. And again, it's just, although they're fighting, it's just a bunch of dialogue and a bunch of just like introspective conversations between Kagenui and Araragi right here. Although she's fucking him up and like ripping out eyeballs and cutting off legs and just all this other fucked up shit.
Yeah, it looks fucking cool. That gore shit is really nice. I like it.
The only thing is that none of these fights ever have a real resolution. It's just like they just talk and then they're just done talking. Okay, fight over.
And that's it.
And which is the exact same thing that happened with Kaiki, and it just happens right here too. It's just like, no, you can't attack the Phoenix, even though she's not my real sister because I raised her as my sister, so she's my sister, mom. And I love her, and she's my mom, and
fucking NGE. Oh, and I forgot to mention the fucking Akira fucking reference with his bike when he's trying to catch up to Senyu Ogahara.
I can't remember.
And he like speeds up in his fucking little bike, and then he drifts.
Oh,
brakes,
yeah.
An Akira.
Yeah.
That, dude, everything's just so crazy, and it's for like a second. Like they'll show you for a second.
You'll barely catch on it. Yeah. It's for the people that. It's like a fan service in and of itself because it's for the people that are really paying attention. Mm-hmm. Because there's also a piece of imagery after he's done with that fight, after the Ghostbusters dip out. He goes to see his youngest sister, Tsukahi, and she's sleeping, but the way her bed is shaped is that it's a spiral staircase surrounded by like really thin like chandeliers hanging from the ceiling almost, with her bed at the very top of this super thin spiral staircase, and it looks like a bird cage because she's a phoenix. But like, and he wakes her up with a kiss, which seems more like something from like Sleeping Beauty or something like that, because she's a mythical figure and she's Yeah,
and it's just like this weird piece of dialogue where she wakes up and is like, oh, no, my first kiss was supposed to be with my boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. And then Araragi is like, oh, that's how families are.
Yeah, it doesn't count if it's family.
Yeah, it doesn't count if it's family.
Yeah, and it's just... but that's the entirety of the series. No resolution. There was no overarching issue that needed resolved.
Nobody learned anything.
Nobody learned anything. Araragi's still a dumbass. He's still harassing all these girls in his life. It's just sisters. Especially his sisters. And I guess now we know like his sisters a little better. And that's just what Nisemonogatari is about. That's it. That's the end of the series. It's fire, but like you need to know what you're getting into. So like everyone should watch Bakemonogatari. Not everyone needs to get as far as Nisemonogatari.
Yeah, you're in deep waters.
Deep shit. But yeah, that's it. Which is where we get into the beginning of Nekomonogatari Black.
A prequel, right? To Bakemonogatari?
Right, and it's never explicitly said. Like, you have to infer this. Like, the only reason I knew that this was a prequel to Bakemonogatari was because, like, on the latter half of episode 1, he says it's Golden Week. And the only reason I know what Golden Week is because I've been, like I keep saying every week, I've been playing a fuck ton of Persona 5. And because Persona 5 just goes day by day through the life of a like Japanese high school student, Golden Week just means like it's like finals week or like dead day or dead week, like at the end of a semester before finals start.
Cool.
So that puts it right before the summer, which is right before Bakemonogatari.
I didn't know until like later on. I mean, Neko, we means cat. We know that cat was like the 9th episode, I think, of Bakemonogatari, or one of the last episodes. That's when I was like, wait, is this before? Because I was like, where's Miss Senjugahara? I was like, what the hell is going on? I didn't know. And then I was like, oh, this is probably a prequel.
Well, there's also a piece of dialogue in Nisemonogatari where he talks... Well, so we're talking about Hanekawa. Hanekawa's the bitch possessed by the cat in Bakemonogatari.
Love interest at the beginning.
Love interest at the beginning of Nekomonogatari. Like, that's the only point she is. But... in Nisemonogatari, he brings up that she cut her hair, and we see that in the episode she's in, which is like episode 3 of Nisemonogatari, which she cuts her hair at the end of her arc in Bakemonogatari. And here she's got her long hair and her nerdy glasses, and you know what I mean? So that's how we know that... That's how we would also know, just based off character design, that this comes before Bakemonogatari, because it's before she even cuts her hair and takes off her glasses. And the dialogue just starts in the series of just inner dialogue of him hanging out himself in a hyper stylized empty room, just thinking about how in love he is with Hanekawa. And again, like, just it hasn't even told us it's a prequel yet, but all we know is that he's in love with Hanekawa. And again, like what you're saying, it's just like, well, then where's Senjugahara? Like, what the fuck happened? Like, yeah. So, but this is before he met Senjugahara, so this is before he fell in love with her. And but like, it's setting up that it's like a very superficial love, because like when he's talking about how in love with her he's just talking about her body. He's just like, she's got these ginormous great tits, she's super smart and tall, she's always wearing like hot panties and like she wears her skirt short, like she's so hot, like I must be in love with her. Yeah. And again, you could take this as a scene as an interpretation of that he's really alone, and maybe he is imagining all this, because none of these rooms are empty. This classroom, he's not empty or by himself. It doesn't make sense unless maybe he is such a shut off and such a shut in that we are seeing the inside of his mind and he just doesn't register anybody. It's like a silent voice or something like that.
Okay, I can see that, absolutely.
Well, the end of episode 1 is the conflict that's established is that he runs into Hanekawa, but he sees that she's wearing a giant bandage on her face. And that's where we learn her backstory about how she lives with her stepfather and his new wife, because her mom remarried after her dad walked out, but her mom died, so she ended up being... custody was given to her stepfather, who again remarried, so she's now living with two parents who have no blood relation to her.
And they have a piece of dialogue where she gets abused, right?
Yeah. Well, he notices the bandage. Yeah. And we don't learn the details until the very last episode, which is... Nisemonogatari Black's only 4 episodes. So it's not till episode 4 that we learn like specifically what happened, but what we learn is that she's really nice, you know what I mean? And she's kind of like, well, I pissed off father and he hit me, so it's my fault, kind of.
I deserved it.
Yeah, it's one of those like victim mindset cycle things, which
codependency kind of thing.
Yeah, but right away, the direct contrast to like how Araragi was in Nisemonogatari, like he wants to be the knight in shining armor here. He wants to protect her. He wants to like save her from this abusive situation.
And that's one of the parts that I kind of that I also like about this series is that Araragi's motivations, besides all the dumb like horny nerd shit, are good.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he just wants to protect these women from being abused.
Yeah.
Whether it be like being taken advantage of by like a cursed dealer yeah, he wants to protect these women at the end of the day. But there is still fan service in this episode because he does a juvenile like skirt flipping prank. Air quotes prank, except it's not a prank because he really did want to see her panties, so that's not a prank.
It's like a Louis C.K. prank.
Yeah. But yeah. So I'm only bringing up this here because he sees that she's wearing like black lace underwear. And that becomes relevant because later he meets a possessed cat woman with the exact same underwear that he saw Hanekawa in this episode, which is like the very next episode in episode 2. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason I'm bringing that up because like it's actually important like what clothing she's wearing underneath her skirt and all that.
Yes, because we meet her as a cat version of herself with the same panties.
Right.
Because they also show her panties.
Right. Yeah. Because the cat just has to be in panties for some reason.
And super cat girls. I can see where all the figures come from, you know?
Yeah. Like, most of the Monogatari figures are, like, Hanekawa as a cat, just in her bra and underwear. But, the episode 2 starts, and we still know it's, like, a prequel to Bakemonogatari, because, Shinobu, the vampire that's living inside of his shadow, isn't part of him yet. Like, episode 2 starts with him showing up to the abandoned cram school, and his mentor's still there, the blonde dude with the earrings, and he's like coaching him still on Ochino on like what it means to be an apparition killer, and he's giving Shinobu his blood, so he's feeding a vampire, and that's where we learned that that's how he started becoming vampire. Like, she had originally been captured by what's his face, and it just Araragi got close to Shinobu that way. And this is where we get... It's just weird that for how important Shinobu gets by, like, latter seasons, how little we're given in Bakemonogatari. And it's not until these later sequels that we start learning where his vampire powers come from and who Shinobu really is. Correct,
yeah, because I mean, I'm still curious to what the fuck happened and how did he become a human again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And, so... This whole series is about Hanekawa, right? And we learn about a scene where Hanekawa and Araragi are walking down the street and they find a silver cat with no tail dead on the street after being hit by a car. And Hanekawa like buries the cat, and that's what ends up possessing her. Because we already knew she was possessed by a cat after Bakemonogatari. But because this is all jumbled up, we're supposed to treat it like we're learning it for the first time, even though it's not a shock because we saw this 2 seasons ago. But we start learning about what kind of apparition she really is, because this cat it's not like a super scary cat. It seems almost like a lesser apparition, because the mentor, what's his face, describes vampires as being the top apparition.
Ochino,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, Ochino describes vampires as being like the top apparition, and like nobody else can kill them. And
yeah, they're like, cats are vampires' worst enemy. I'm like, that's weird to think about.
It doesn't make any sense, but it makes sense later after he gets his ass kicked. Because like he goes to try to confront Hanekawa, and he finds her, but she has both of her parents like their limp bodies in like her arms, because all he sees is like this sexy cat lady with her bra and underwear on, and like her hair's white now but with like pointy cat ears.
Yeah,
but just based off like her panty style, Araragi knows it's her, and so Araragi can be like, you're really Hanekawa. But she's what they tried describing in the scene is that there's an alternate personality that's owned by the cat here.
Yeah.
And that's the person that's really abusing the parents and all that, because the cat will throw the parents' limp bodies at Araragi and be like, here, you take care of them, you call the cops. And Araragi, because he thinks he's in love with Hanekawa, tries to stop her, or the cat version of her, Black Hanekawa, from going out and hurting more people. But we get more gore, which is like super exciting because you almost don't expect it.
Yeah.
It just comes out of nowhere. She just rips off his arm, but like the animation's cool because we're seeing like individual like muscle strands tearing,
almost like Akira in some of those like arm mutating shots.
Yeah,
but it just looks fucking like he just fucking splits it.
And the Monogatari series likes those Tarantino like blood spouts, and that's another one we get right here is just like a blood spout coming out of his arm, and then. But we learned that because part vampire, his blood evaporates, so it's not actually going to leave a stain.
Yeah, like his healing is like if he were to get cut, I guess his blood would like evaporate and like heal, whatever. I don't know
because vampire, I don't know.
And like I was confused as a viewer because it's like, who cares, dude? You could have left the stain there and not tell us like there was gonna be a subplot of like the police fucking like, oh, who does the fuck blood is this?
Yeah,
we need to find out
because it doesn't even matter because we never see any adults in this. It's like fucking Charlie Brown or some shit. Because all he does is he calls an ambulance for the parents, and they're in the hospital off screen the rest of the anime. So it like doesn't even matter. But what Ochino or whatever the mentor's name is tries describing as as like the superpower that could hurt vampires is that the Neko has like a healing factor or like a skill drain almost. And Araragi's like, well, I'm a vampire. I can literally do that too. But that becomes the only reason I'm bringing that up now is because it becomes relevant later, or not relevant, and that's why it's relevant. But I did want to talk about. We haven't talked about any of the opening songs or the ending sequences yet.
They're really good.
The second one from Nisemonogatari is like the most famous Monogatari opening because it's just this really cute like jazz dance between the little sister. Only reason I'm bringing it up, but there is visual imagery at the ending song for Nekomonogatari. It starts with like a 3-eyed magnifying glass that kind of looks like a cat's paw. But because it's a magnifying glass, it's showing like the inner workings of this woman, of Hanekawa. And that's like the visualization. Even though it's like super superficial imagery, because we know we're learning more about Hanekawa. It's called Nekomonogatari. We know we're talking about the cat bitch here.
Yeah.
But it's still like cool that the imagery and like the metaphor is being showed in a different way.
Yeah, I want to compare it to like the cutting imagery in Darling in the Franxx, just to give you a glimpse of the same characters in another world or something like that.
Yeah. Because the ending sequence of Darling in the Franxx was them if it was more of a slice of life, right?
Exactly. And what you see in those closings is like we said, we know it's Nekomonogatari, but it's nice to see like, oh,
it's bringing it full circle. It feels really complete as a medium right here. And that's the end of episode 2. But by episode 3, he just shows up to Hanekawa's house and he kind of breaks in because he realizes that nobody's home because the parents are in the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Haneka was out doing cat bitch shit. He breaks in, and that's when he feels bad for her because he realizes that she doesn't have her own room inside of this house with these parents that aren't really her parents.
She's like an attic.
Yeah, she's like a piece of decoration, you know?
I mean, she's like in an attic. My bad. Right?
Oh, yeah,
like yeah. Almost like fucking Edward Scissorhands kind of room.
Yeah, or Arthur. I don't know.
Arthur?
I mean, not Arthur. What's his name? Football head. Arnold! Yeah, Arnold lived in the attic.
Yes, Arnold. Cool. Dude, I've been trying to find like a vinyl for Arnold. Hey Arnold.
Why?
The music's fucking good. The jazz in fucking Hey Arnold.
Was there jazz in Hey Arnold?
Yes, dude.
I don't remember that.
Dude, look it up. It's
I haven't seen Hey Arnold in 20 fucking years. Yeah. I don't know.
Anyways,
so he feels bad for her, and now we have a new conviction on why we need to solve the cat bitch problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like this whole talk about, I'm sad.
Yeah, because first it's like, I'm in love with her. That's what I'm going to solve her from being a cat bitch. And then it's like, oh, now I feel bad for her. Now that's why I really got to help her not be a cat bitch. So he goes to the school. He's hanging out in the classroom by himself. But it's Golden Week, so no one's in school. So he's just sitting in his school uniform in his desk in a classroom by himself, in a building by himself. And at the front of the classroom is Hanako Black, so her in cat form, and it's just her in a different set of lingerie, just talking to him for 15 minutes.
It's funny, the little piece of dialogue right before when he's like, maybe this is her seat or something, and then like he licks the desk.
Oh yeah, that's how she exposes her, because he's like licking her desk, like where she sits down on top of her desk,
and it's like pervert.
Yeah, you're licking my master's desk. You just want to taste her butt cheeks or something.
Yeah.
Fuck, that shit's hilarious.
And yeah, they start talking about how she's like, well, Araragi's trying to be like, get my friend back kind of thing.
Yeah. This is where we get a sense of like, how do I put it? About like the metaphor or the imagery that Hanako Black's supposed to be here. Because the cat straight up tells Araragi, well, the cat in Hanako's body, whatever, tells Araragi straight up that Hanako was disguising herself as being a good person. And that's where we get the real scene on what happened, on what gave her that bruise from episode 1. It was that, like, the parents were just being abusive and really aggressive, and they pushed her against the wall, but Hanako being such, like, a godly, well, not a godly, but, like, they describe her as being irritating to people because she's so fake good that she's impossible for other people to be around. Mm-hmm. And she tries to be so perfect that it just irritates everybody around her. And that's what got her parents irritated, pushed her against the wall, and Hanako got pushed down to the floor, and she just gets up and she's like, I'm sorry, father, I shouldn't have done that to you or put you in that position. And that just upset them even more. So what we're seeing here is that Hanako Black is a representation of like her stress, of like that fake just stress from hiding back all that emotion. It's like how people, usually men that don't like express themselves clearly, end up being like abusers. And they either end up being cops or abusers or both, I guess. But fuck. What point? Google 40% police officers.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's, I don't know.
40% of police officers commit spousal abuse.
Yeah. I know.
Anyways. Yeah. That's what ends up happening right here. And so that conversation happens, and Araragi feels bad for her all over again, and he's also talking to the sexy cat lady, but she just takes off, and she's like, tell you and that creepy blonde dude with the earrings to stay the fuck away from me and my mistress, and like, neither of you have to die.
She fucks up Ochino.
Yeah.
One time.
Yeah.
She came in
off screen. We don't get to see it.
Yeah, we don't get to see that.
We see the results of it because like Araragi's going to hang out at the abandoned cram school, and Ochino comes in all fucked up, and he's like, yo, what the fuck happened? He's just like,
the cat came in, bro.
The cat fucked me up, bro. Yeah. So Araragi at the beginning of episode 4 is still convinced that he's in love with Hanako. Mm-hmm. And he tries to make a deal with Shinobu, who's still not living inside of his shadow, but is living like locked inside of a room as like a prisoner almost inside of the abandoned cram school. And he goes and talks to her after giving her donuts and is like, yo, can you please give me something to help me rid my friend Hanako of this like cat apparition? Mm-hmm. So like just out of her dimension in her throat, she pulls out an apparition killing sword.
Yeah, he swallowed one? That's the dialogue that they use, because he's standing in front of her, confronting her, is like, hey, give me back my friend. Blah, blah,
right,
blah,
so
blah.
After he gets a sword, we get a cut and screen, and he texts Hanako her cell phone directly, telling her that he's being hurt into like come to the cram school. She like dashes and breaks into the fucking school, and you're right. So we get like a standoff between Hanako and Araragi right here, and that's where he exposes her as putting on a fake cat persona.
Correct, and then as she goes for this attack, and by the way, the fights are fucking animated, fucking awesome, because it's just animation. There's no 3D. There's nothing. There's just fucking panels moving very fast.
Yeah.
They do blur some, like, character imagery, but they do everywhere, to make it look faster. Mm. But she hits him, cuts one half of the body, which then goes flying and hits the wall that was right behind him, but his legs stay.
Well, he provoked her on purpose.
Correct.
Because, so, he exposes her, and he is able to show that, like, I texted Hanekawa's phone. Who's coming here is Hanekawa Black, the cat persona. So that means that you were putting on a fake cat persona, and you were using that as an excuse to hurt people. And, like, yeah, I believe that the cat is an apparition and is using your, like, inner frustration for its power, and that's why the mentor, the sensei, says that like he lied, and that the Sawari Neko normally aren't all that strong of apparitions, and that he lied that they're even strong compared to vampires. The only reason that it's appearing strong is because of the amount of grief and pain that this Sawari Neko is taking in from Hanekawa. So he's explaining this to Hanekawa Black in her cat form, and knowing that she's gonna get all pissed, and he provokes her to attack him. And like what you're describing, it severs half of his body. So all you end up seeing is just like his torso just going towards the wall and smashing.
Gory as fuck. It looks fucking awesome.
Super gory. But then like we get like a pan to his bottom half, and it's just the long ass sword just poking out of it.
And she hurt herself, but you never really see how she got hurt?
Because the sword was only supposed to be an apparition killer. It never actually hurt Hanekawa's body.
Yeah, because then she starts going full cat.
Yeah, only the apparition. So yeah, the apparition's hurt, and it tries like acting back and fighting back, and tries going extra catty. And that's where Shinobu like comes out and like eats like the stress or like part of the apparition, and like is able to suck away the Hanekawa Black.
Oh yeah, because we have a lot of scenes with Shinobu, and they're like on a date almost in one of the episodes, right? Yeah, they're out eating and stuff.
They go to a donut shop. Yeah, because Shinobu's obsessed with donuts. Yeah, and but because that Shinobu scene is relevant because that exact scene happens in Bakemonogatari. So multiple times, the way they deal with Hanekawa when she's in her cat form is Shinobu just comes out and tries to like suck up part of the apparition as part of like her vampire powers. And that's like it. That's like it. Like the last piece of dialogue is just that like Araragi is telling nobody in particular, I guess Hanekawa was possessed by a demon called family. And your family fucks you up, and that's like the moral of the story.
Sometimes family fucks you up.
And that's Nekomonogatari Black. Magical. Fucking crazy.
It's great. I want to watch it again to have more understanding of what's going on, because again, first time watching it and having that much dialogue, and it's the way also I want to give shout out to like the voice actors. The voice actors are perfect for this kind of dialogue, because there's some sort of dialogue, like for example, we saw Demon Slayer this week, where the words they're very well pronounced, I guess. Yeah. As to where Monogatari,
it feels like real dialogue.
It feels like real dialogue.
It feels like real people talking to each other. I did want to bring up a couple like side points since we talked about both Nisemonogatari and Nekomonogatari Black. Bakemonogatari was originally directed by Mr. Tatsuho Oiishi. They both work for Studio Shaft, both Mr. Oiishi and Tomoyuki Itamaru. And Omoku Itamaru is the one that directed Nisemonogatari. So a lot of like the design choices or like their directing choices or what's focused on too much is kind of pushed towards Itamaru, but at the same time, the author himself of the Monogatari series, Mr. Nisio Isin, he's kind of, the manga was like this anyways. You know what I mean? If anything, Bakemonogatari wasn't a true adaptation because it didn't focus on certain scenes enough. So as much flack as Nisemonogatari gets, like it's kind of more of a legitimate adaptation, because even Mr. Isin has a current anime coming out this season, which is called Pretty Boy Detective Club. And like you told me as a joke as I was describing this to you, I was like, "Is there inappropriate fan service in it?" I'm like, we're 3 episodes into the season, and that almost seems like what it's about. I'm not watching it. Don't get me wrong, but like what I see, like anime Twitter talking about is it's a lot of the same. And the Monogatari series is super long. There's like 10 sequels that come after this. I hope someday we get around to them. I don't think it'll be anytime soon because like I almost need a break after this week.
Yeah, it's big. It's like NGE Big Brain.
Mm-hmm. But there's so much of it.
There's so much of it. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like
it's not holding your hand.
I don't know how we're gonna get through it.
Yeah, it's not holding your hand through the scenes or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Because I find myself going like, wait, what the fuck happened? 10 seconds back, go back. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But there's still like the back and forth. You have to hold on to those points on the back and forth, and then at the end of whatever they're saying, you're like, oh, okay, that's whatever the fuck all that shit meant.
Yeah, crazy ass series. Everyone should watch it. Like, don't let our apprehensions scare you because like I'm still speaking highly of it. It's just there's a lot you have to consider.
It is scary.
And if you watch it, you'll understand. It's just I suggest everyone watch Bakemonogatari as a minimum because
thumbs up.
Definite thumbs up. I really think Bakemonogatari has been in my top 3 for the past like 15 years for a fucking reason. Like it's just so solid and well directed and well written and well put together, and it's just like it's like art ho anime. You know what I mean? It's just like arts, like film school. If there was like how there's like pretentious film schools in both New York and Hollywood, which like the films that come out of those productions end up being ass and super artsy.
Have you ever seen... Yeah, I was going to bring this up. Have you ever seen Mr. Bean's Holiday? Where he interrupts this film festival where this guy is showing this fucking highbrow fucking film. Oh, William Dafoe is the director of this like super highbrow fucking film. And then like they put in his movie, which turns out to be a better movie of his recordings. But yeah, it's like that. It's the Monogatari series is an art ho anime. Like it's the Sunset Festival
of anime,
Sunday Festival. Yeah, dude, of anime.
And but like for a reason. Like it's lasted so long. The author is fair. He's made his money. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to keep writing anything. Like he's made his fucking money. The studio Shaft has made their fucking money off this shit too, and like they just keep milking it because it's a fucking cash cow. This shit's like a gold mine of like solid content. Definite thumbs up.
Definite thumbs up.
I don't want to get bogged down in talking about it anymore. So I think we should move on.
Nerd down.
Nerd down.
Nerd down.
Nerd Down.
Welcome back to the Nerd Down Nerds. April 27, 2001. We're our 40th episode with 12 episodes from going to 52, which will mark our digital anniversary.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know how it's been a year, man. I really don't know how we've gotten this far.
And we already have fucking all of that fucking already scheduled, pretty much.
Yeah, we have the whole month of May scheduled. We are gonna, this upcoming week, the episodes that's gonna come out like May 2nd, May 3rd, we're gonna be watching Princess Mononoke. We're trying to have the girls back on. We're trying to have both Karen Dietz and Vianney Sosa back on, our girlfriends back on the podcast for the third time.
Yes, for the fourth time, I believe.
Third.
Okay.
Third. And then the week after that, we are gonna, based off the results of a poll we had on Twitter, we're gonna be watching ReZero, which I've been wanting to see because although ReZero is 26 seasons, we're going to be watching only season 1, but I've seen none of ReZero outside the first 2 episodes.
I've seen figures of ReZero.
It's super popular. It's super popular.
Yeah.
I've tried on 3 separate occasions to get into ReZero. I can never make it past the second episode.
You don't have to get into it. Now you just have to watch it.
Now I just have to watch it. Like, I have to force my... But, like I'm saying it in a negative connotation, but it's like, I know it's popular. I know it's good. I know if I give it a chance,
it's like Breaking Bad. Like, you ask 80% of the people that like fucking Breaking Bad.
I thought Breaking Bad was fire from the beginning. I've heard that take before.
But if you ask 80% of the people that like Breaking Bad, they'll tell you, oh, I didn't like it at the beginning.
Yeah, the first 2 seasons of Breaking Bad are really hard. It's not until No, the first season's bad. It's not until the beginning of season 2 where like he's in the meth lab in the middle of the desert that you're like, oh, this shit's fire. But yeah, that's my understanding of ReZero. My understanding is I have to get like 5-6 episodes in. There's the 3 episode rule in anime. If an anime isn't good in 3 episodes, it's garbage.
And by the way, guys, we are gonna mention the winner of the giveaway for the last episode, which is Princess Mononoke. You already said the girls can join us. Saeed is gonna be well taken care of. I called my mom. I was like, Mom, you need to take care of the bendición. And yeah, so we're gonna have an episode. It's gonna be a movie, so it's gonna be an easy weekend.
It's because
we're fucking recording late
on a Tuesday. So this will come out Wednesday morning. It's gonna be fucking fire.
How's your week been? I know you.
Hold on. Let me finish May. Let me finish the month of May. Hold on. So then May 1st, May 2nd is Princess Mononoke. The week after that, ReZero. The week after that, we are going to be watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Season 1, as it is listed on the Netflix listing, which is both parts 1 and 2 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So we are going to be watching the Golden Star ripoff and the one with Joseph.
Yes.
The one with young Joseph. I don't know why I forgot what the parts are called.
It's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which does it have a specific name? The first?
Yeah, the first one's called, I don't even remember. I don't know. But anyways, we're gonna be watching both of those, which is only it's Phantom Blood and then Battle Tendency.
Phantom Blood, yes. And I hope, to all the new listeners that apparently we have, whenever you get to this episode, please watch JoJo's, because JoJo's is cool.
Watch along with us. We're talking about all these things ahead of time so that you can watch along with us.
Yeah.
Because I think people forget that sometimes. Because although our episode J was like obscenely popular for some reason, it was like clear while we were recording, although it was a good conversation because he remembered a lot of Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Yeah, I'll love to have him back for something else.
But it was clear to me that like he didn't watch the week of. He was talking from recollection.
Yeah,
and I was almost like, but Jay, but why?
Because I find that one of the issues that you see when you have like some review videos or something like that is that they just go, and especially with anime where there's a lot of gatekeepers, they'll just talk from memory.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like,
which we don't let happen.
Come on. It's like we have to put in context to this fucking conversations, because even though I hated fucking Deadman Wonderland, even though I hated fucking what's the other one, Parasite, I do like to point out the things that I like. I do like to point out. I also love to point out the things that I don't like.
Yeah. And we've had this conversation with CJ when we had him on after our bad take, air quotes bad take, on Cowboy Bebop, and like. You know what I mean? Like, you can put it in context. You can talk about all you want. Like, you can't defend it.
And honestly, right now, talking about it was. Because when he sat down and talked to us right now, he did agree on the points that we had, but he did have his defense about it. And also, like, for example, my friend Keith, when he was like, you guys were all over the place with Deadman Wonderland, and I'm like, come on, bro. It's like...
Give us some slack. That shit's ass.
You give us a solid paragraph of why this shit was good and not tell us that.
Not even that. It's just like all the defense and the bad takes I got from people after our Deadman Wonderland episode was like, nah, y'all are just wrong. Like, you couldn't talk about it. It was just like, well, I remember watching this and thinking it was fire. You didn't watch it this past week with us. Watch it with us, like, as we're watching it, and you'll understand exactly what we're talking about.
Because, yeah, like, if you're talking at a bar and you want me to watch your anime that you like, then sell it. Don't just be like, nah. I
watched this 10 years ago, and I remember it being good. I don't think that's good. Yeah. Anyways, we're not done. So, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Parts 1 and 2, both Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency. And then, for the last week 4 of Between Nerds Podcast, which is going to be episode 44, we're going to be watching Jujutsu Kaisen, which is like supposedly anime of the year from this year's Anime Awards, and it's like the big shonen right now. And I watched most of it last season as it was coming out. I think I didn't watch the last 4 episodes because I got caught up in what we were doing for the podcast, but because I wanted to finish it, I suggested it to you, and now we're going to finish it as part of the podcast. And we're going to be talking about Jujutsu Kaisen, which is like, it's not bad. It's really good. It's one of the most popular manga out right now, besides like Demon Slayer and fucking One Piece, which, like, how are you going to compare to those two? But I'm excited.
I'm excited.
It's cool that we're watching something so recent too, because like Jujutsu Kaisen, it rips off a lot, like the 2000s anime big three. It rips off a lot from both Bleach and Naruto a fuck ton. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of the character motivations seem like they're stripped right from Bleach. A lot of the powers seem like they're stripped right from Naruto. It's gonna be a good week. It's gonna be a good month, everybody. I'm super excited. I don't know how we did it, but last month, March 30th and March 31st, we were ranked the 36th most popular podcast on the Apple Podcast animation and manga chart. So my goal is that, like, after every episode release, the month of May, we're at least that popular.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've been thinking a lot about, like, you know, merch and stuff, but we're having such a hard time getting some fucking, you know, people that design stuff for us in English, because right now the current logo that we have, I mean, it doesn't work.
Right, we need something in English lettering so that people can know, oh, Between Nerds Podcast. I'm going to go, like, look that up. Because, like, if you see it in the Japanese kanji now, like, it looks super dope. It looks super stylized. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But it's, like, how are you, like, if I saw somebody wearing that, how would I know to look up Between Nerds Podcast?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And me and you've been talking a lot recently about, like,
expanding,
like, business stuff for, like, the podcast. Like, we need to still register our LLC. We're thinking about buying another mic. We've been sharing one blue mic since fucking November last year, October maybe. Yeah. And I don't know. I keep wanting keep getting bigger.
Seymour keeps asking me for a promotion. I don't know what to tell the kid.
He's the unpaid intern. What are we going to tell the pug?
I don't know how many coffees I got left.
What else is there? I guess we can get into some of the, like, pop culture stuff that's been happening this week.
Absolutely, yeah. We had a long week. Like, I got sent to fucking Albuquerque. I was able to take a drive by the house used in Breaking Bad,
and then
but yeah, we are gonna talk. I was able to watch One Piece.
You've been watching One Piece. I'm glad you finally finished the Alabasta saga, because it's cool, like, how the power scaling in One Piece has worked, because, like, 300 chapters ago, the big boss fight in the last arc was a warlord of the sea. And in the Alabasta saga is when we first see Luffy fight and meet a warlord. Like, when we get introduced to warlords, it's like, oh, now you're gonna beat this fucker. Like, This is the strongest guy we've been introduced to after, like, almost 100 episodes, and now you gotta fight him.
Mm-hmm. So when I came back from Albuquerque, it was a Sunday. I came back early because of what happened at work. They sent me over there for nothing. I asked V if she wanted to go watch Demon Slayer.
Yeah,
I went to go watch Demon Slayer. I understand you watched it on Sunday too.
I watched it
earlier.
On Sunday too.
Did you watch the subbed or dub?
Subbed. I couldn't.
Watched the sub too.
I didn't even realize there was a dub until afterwards. It wasn't until, like, the day of that I was looking at my tickets. I'm like, oh shit, we're gonna go watch the sub.
I'm glad I showed Vianney the first, like, 5 episodes to Demon Slayer, because she understood the context behind his family and his dream stuff.
I honestly, I felt a little bad, because you're right. I had to explain it to Karen a little bit as it was coming up, because, like, there's that dream sequence where, like, he's, like, seeing his family who we know aren't there, and, like, it's clear it's supposed to be sad and fucked up, but, like, if you're not familiar with it, you're not sure why. But I think it was really good. Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Mugen Train has broken the record in Japan for the highest grossing film of all time. And a lot of that is attributed last year to just the pandemic and everything. Number one. Number two, it's a really good movie. Like, Kimetsu no Yaiba is probably, like, the most popular manga in the modern age. Like, although the manga chapters themselves weren't a whole lot, like, it's only a few chapters. If you really sat down, you could finish the Kimetsu no Yaiba manga in, like, a day.
Oh yeah, it's really short. Yeah, and I did read the manga up to that point, to where we see our poor pillar go down.
Yeah, and I hate being this guy, but there are like things you can pick apart about the animation in certain scenes, because there's some like worm like.
There's a big chunk of just like CGI around.
Yeah, and it looks really ugly. Like not like. I'm okay with CGI sometimes. I know I shout on CGI all the time, but I'm okay with CGI sometimes. But like the way these worm-like tentacles look, it looks like something out of fucking 90s Hollywood.
Like you could have easily make it like the inside of Majin Buu in Dragon Ball Z, and I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, it would have been like, because in Dragon Ball Z, those were super clunky 2D animations of the inside of Majin Buu.
But it looks so stretchy, it looks so weird, it looks like internal organ-ish.
That's what we needed, but instead they took the cheap route
and then just like blobbed it with fucking some guy just went like this with a fucking
with CGI tool. And it looks really, really, really ugly. And like, but the rest of it's the thing about it is that Kimetsu no Yaiba, especially this arc, almost clearly fits like a 3-arc Western film structure or like a play structure.
What do you mean?
Okay.
Like a first act, second act, third act?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So, One Piece, for example, the current arc in the manga is called the Wano arc. And instead of following a 3-act structure, the author of One Piece he's telling the audience that he's following a 5-act structure, because in Japanese traditional plays, the ones with the masks where like they're hyper stylized and it's almost like Japanese Shakespeare because they speak and singing. I forget what it's called. There's a word for it, but it usually follows a 5-act structure. And the Wano arc is clearly labeling in certain chapters like Wano arc 1, Wano arc 2, Wano arc 3, Wano arc 4, because it's trying to tell its audience it's following this traditional Japanese story structure. But the Mugen Train saga in Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, follows the Western 3-act structure. And so there's the beginning, which is like the call to adventure, almost like in the hero's journey, where we're getting everybody in the train, we're setting up the first antagonist, we're setting up the main
the thrill,
the struggle here, yeah. And then Act 2 is like us in the middle of that struggle, and we're getting fights in the dream world, and we're getting false realities, and we're getting people's deepest wishes, which is how we're learning more about the characters, and how we learn that fucking what's his name, Boarhead, just wants everybody to follow him, and he sees himself as the main character of this story. And the end of Act 2 is a false start to Act 3, because we get we get the fight with the false antagonist. So we get a false we get a false climax, which would have been the beginning to Act 3,
and then we start like a complete movie,
completely different story, different antagonist, different fight, different everything. So that's where we get the real Act 3. So like, yes, it is following the 3-act structure, but it's a false end to the second act. Which is like amazing, because like, if you know anything about Kimetsu no Yaiba, you know that the author Koyoharu Gotoge is a woman, and in an industry completely dominated by men. Like 99.8% of mangaka are dudes. Yeah. The most popular mangaka of the past 6 years is a fucking woman, and she made a 200 chapter classic and dipped out. Like, when like we know that the author to Hunter x Hunter, the manga, got sick from how much he's been stressed out by the manga. We know that what's his name, the mangaka for My Hero Academia, the dude for Berserk too. We know all of them keep getting like just emotionally drained and depressed and sick from how hard they're working. It's just a testament that Gotoge could just like do exactly what she wanted to do. She was like, 205 chapters, solid, press, done. I'm done. I'm out. I'm dipping. Like, I don't care how much money you're offering me. I'm ending it on my terms.
Because
and, like,
I know.
I have my mental health, too. Yeah. Like, she wins more than anybody else.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you're able to do that, just like, you know what, I have a story, I'm gonna end the story. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate Oda for One Piece and still going and stuff, but
Oda got sick last year, you know what I mean?
But I also appreciate something like Akame Ga Kill, where it just ends.
Yeah.
You know? Or
and that's what's so cool about Demon Slayer. It's because it's like, when I say you can finish it in 2 days, you can really, really finish it in 2 days without even like really like having to stress yourself out about it. Like, it's just such a breeze to read. Every chapter is like, I just need to read another chapter before bed. I just have to do it.
It's very wholesome. Very wholesome. I like it. It brings my spirits up.
It doesn't break. It doesn't like. It's not reinventing the wheel on anything. It's just a shonen at the end of the day. The main character is a great guy that wants to turn his sister human, and that's it. That's the exact motivation from chapter 1 to chapter 205.
Great fucking movie. I went to the Alamo Draft House on the East for the first time. Yeah? Did you have good service?
That's my third time.
Did you have good service?
No.
I mean,
technically, I feel like a fucking loser for saying this, but I was at Alamo Draft House. I was at the movies twice this past weekend.
Why do you feel like a loser? I like going to the movies.
Well, because I watched Mortal Kombat.
Oh, it's because that sucks.
It's as bad as I thought it was going to be.
You know what? I don't think it was bad. I got exactly what I expected.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I was entertained. That's exactly what I bought those tickets for. What that movie was exactly what I signed up for.
I started watching it without asking, like, V's like, oh, is that a new movie? It's like, yeah, it's Mortal Kombat, but it's like, yeah, like, watch it with me, but I'm really not paying attention to, like, anything, because I can hear it. I know what's going on. It wasn't really fast-paced, Not at all, like,
drag.
You know, so...
I hated a lot of the casting. I didn't like a lot of the character casting, because these are timeless characters, you know what I mean? Everyone has a certain sense of how Sonya should look, about how Luke Cage should look, about how, like, Raiden should look. And a lot of these characters, the only one that I was like, I guess that's him, is like Liu Kang.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I guess that's him. But everybody else, I was like, no, that's not who that fucking character is. Or that's not how, like, video game playing me decided those characters.
Honestly, from what we've had from the past...
This is like the best one.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the best one by, like, a long shot.
Yeah.
Like,
but even before, like, I remember watching the first Mortal Kombat and not seeing, I think it was Reptile. And then on the second one, we see Reptile.
And then Reptile in this one dies after 5 seconds.
No, yeah, but then I remember that and be like, oh, new characters. Like, for example, in this one, I really liked Cabal and Melina. Like, we did get a glimpse of those characters before, but not really there.
I like that Raiden was actually Chinese in this one.
Apparently, people hated the casting for
Raiden?
For Raiden, yeah, dude. Apparently,
the one in the 90s, he was white.
Raiden was supposed to be super important. Yeah, absolutely. It's like,
what?
Like, Raiden has to have a bigger role. I'm like, dude, it's like, they're setting up a sequel.
Anything's better than a white Raiden. What the fuck are you talking about?
They're setting up a sequel. I'm like, bro, like... Yeah. Like,
I saw the complaint that there was no tournament in the movie. I'm like, there's obviously going to be a sequel.
Yeah.
It tells you right there, like, there's going to be a sequel. And then you're like, where was the tournament?
I don't know, bro. It was good. I'm excited for the second one just to see what they're going to do. Just like just like with this time.
It was super tacky that they kept saying things like, get over here, or flawless.
I'd rather have something like that than 9 Fast and the Furious.
I like the first 3 Fast and the Furious.
I like the first 2, 3. Yeah, Tokyo Drift was a classic.
Tokyo Drift is 3, right? 3, yeah, that was the last one I really liked.
Yeah, the first 3 are fucking classic.
I like Fast and Furious. I like Too Fast, Too Furious. I like Tokyo Drift.
Or something instead of like the Saw movies. I like the fucking first 3 movies too.
I love every Saw. I don't know.
Really?
I've seen every Saw like 3 times. Not even kidding.
And you don't like gory anime? It's because they can animate it good.
You know what I mean? Because like Saw has really good gore. Yeah. Because Saw isn't scary. Everyone knows that about the Saw series.
It's just like, look at this blood. Look at this blood.
Yeah. It's just like, you want to see somebody get dismembered really good? That's what Saw is.
I'm gonna throw this girl in the pile of like dirty needles.
We're gonna watch somebody's jaw get ripped off.
Yeah, fucking crazy stuff.
Fucking love Saw.
Anyways, what else we got? I don't know. I really like Mortal Kombat. Like I said, it set it up for the...
I want to watch Demon Slayer for the podcast at some point.
I do too. I did mention this to you. No, I mentioned... My Hero Academia. And I feel like these young animes, or like these recent animes...
Don't call us old, although...
I feel like we gotta give it a little bit more time to do them.
Yeah,
and try to catch
but then why
up.
are we doing Jujutsu Kaisen so soon?
Well, no.
That shit ended like 4 weeks ago.
Whatever. I'm just saying.
It's because Demon Slayer is such a hitter. Yeah. And like, I talked about this with you after the trailer for the new Demon Slayer anime season was announced. Because we get the Sound Pillar, the Ninja Dude, and his 3 wives, and that's my favorite arc of the manga.
That's
so like you're right.
Yeah, that's where I got up to the Sound Pillar. I think
that's like my favorite arc of the manga, and like I'm stupid excited for when it comes out because I have watched none of My Hero Academia so far this season.
Me neither, man. I stopped watching it for a long time.
I feel. You should watch it because it depends how far they get this season. Because the best season or the best arc of My Hero Academia is called My Villain Academia. And My Villain Academia might start in the second half of this season. So I'd be willing to do My Hero Academia, which is a manga I read week to week, at the end of this season, because like I'm telling you, like this season is probably going to have the best arc of the manga.
Hell yeah.
And the manga itself is probably coming to a close.
Speaking about things coming to a close, how did you enjoy your last 2 episodes, Falcon and the Winter Soldier? You're not quite fond of the first episodes.
It's okay. If I were to give the overall season a rating, it's like a 5-6 out of 10. Like, it's not blowing my fucking mind or some shit. It's not overtly bad. It adds something to the Captain America story. But it's not like WandaVision was like top tier directed, like animation quality and the CGI effects. The fighting scenes were top tier. The writing was like, it was top tier because it was fine. Because they were trying to do parodies and stylizations of period pieces, it came off really well. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it could be fucking S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC Network for all I know. Okay, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's cool because it's Marvel, but do I think it's well written?
It has more budget. So it's nice to see a show with budget. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it's not a lot to say. You know,
not really.
But it's nice to see a show. It's nice to see a show that it's budgeted by Marvel and being like, cool. And WandaVision blew it out of the park with
WandaVision. What I thought was kind of funny was the last week they announced Captain America 4, but they announced that the director of Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to be advising, not directing, not co-writing, not co-producing, is going to be advising on the production of Captain America 4. And I think that says something about what the Disney exec office is thinking, that they're like, yo, like, we like the direction you took the story, but we don't like the finished product you put out as far as like actually being a director producer. And I thought that was funny. But at the same time, I felt kind of bad for the guy.
I mean, it has to do a lot with budgeting, too.
I think it had a lot to do with the reshoots during COVID.
Yeah, that too.
Because, like, half the motivations of the characters, half the story arc is just, like, kind of up in the air.
It's because where he finishes is like, hey, these people were trying to do good by the people that were being wronged by legislation. Right? And, but you don't get that feel because they overshot the thing with the vaccines. Yeah. Like, if we would have seen these people, like, delivering some vaccines to some X amount of people, it would have cut a little bit more on my heartstrings at the end, seeing, like, yo, dude, why are you calling these people terrorists?
I think it's easy for people to pick up on the fake wokeness that's being, like, preached in the last episode. Because it's clear that having a black Captain America speak truth to power about like a tyrannical government kicking over the little man and not hearing about the actual plight of the people, it's clear what they were going for. You know what I mean? But at that same point, it's so forced it doesn't seem natural. Because when I'm talking about progressive writing, as in like a natural occurrence between established characters in Nisemonogatari about like a woman overcoming a man and his like sexual power, but she's over sexualizing him and intimidating him in the conversation.
It also reminds me of the conversation we had with Miss Kobayashi's, that instead of bringing this fake struggle Hollywood movie into the character of a lesbian woman living her lesbian life, we just see a life story instead of like this fake empowering struggle like we see like, the other day I saw a TikTok is like, Hollywood making a movie with black people is like, we need a slave struggle, we need a discrimination struggle. And don't get me wrong, those are the things that we should talk about, but I want to see a give me something, something.
The most honest representation I can understand of what you're talking about that doesn't come off forced or fake or super Hollywood woke was Moonlight.
Yeah.
Moonlight was the struggle about like a modern African American male, like born poor, struggling within this like super rigid, post-industrialized, capitalist society, how somebody like that would go about like living, you know what I mean? And that's what hurts about Moonlight, because like this is a real struggle. The main gripe that I'm not sure I agree with about Captain Marvel was like it was fake feminism. It wasn't real empowerment because it was writing around the male characters to empower a woman. Captain Marvel.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Which I'm not sure I completely agree with that, but that was the argument behind it. And I'm not sure I completely apply that fake wokeness to the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's just they could have done it better. Is the point I'm trying to make, because we haven't seen. We never saw what's his name, Falcon, the character's name. Sam. We never saw Sam Wilson as a character in this show be hyper political and have hyper strong feelings about the Flag Smashers and about their cause and have a lot of sympathy for them. He had sympathy for the girl because she was a young woman and he felt like she was caught in this weird situation. But to deliver this hyper political message, which me and you agree with that message, you know what I mean? Both me and you are fucking libtards, you know what I mean? Like, but it wasn't authentic in the way it was written because you did not set up that motivation previously.
Yeah, I mean, they did try with, like, the thing with the bank, but there's not enough time to the struggle to hit it at the end. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
But, it was cool. I liked it.
If anything, just episode 6 was worth it just to see the suit. You know what I mean? Like,
I told you this.
I knew, we knew it was going to happen. We both knew it was going to happen. By, like, episode 3, we're like, okay, Sam Wilson's going to be next Captain America, but, like, he's going to have fucking wings, but he's going to have the shield. And that's exactly what happened. It's just worth it just to see the suit. It's not like... Like, I saw the spoilers beforehand because I was on Twitter and people just decided to post pictures of the suit. But it's not like the end of The Mandalorian where that was like a huge fucking, like, outer left field kind of spoiler. You know what I mean? It's just like, we got to see the suit we knew he was going to have. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm excited for the new Captain America.
Do we even know when it's coming out?
No, I do not. The next thing is going to be July. It's going to be Loki. I will also be watching that, and I will make you watch that so we can talk about it.
Well, do we know how many episodes Loki's going to be?
It's going to be the same thing, bro. 6, 8, 7.
It doesn't even matter. I'm just watching all of it. It doesn't even matter.
And
What If?
What If is coming out as well. I'm excited to watch that one. I don't really like the art, the animation style.
No,
I always hated that kind of the animation style.
But see, you like DC's animation. That's what DC looks like.
No, it doesn't.
A little bit.
You are high as fuck.
Maybe, but why?
It does not look like that, man. Okay. Flashpoint Paradox looks like that.
No.
The Dark Knight Rises.
With the socialist Superman one.
That one doesn't look like that either.
But it's just kind of. low quality in the same sense. Like, it's not super...
American low quality, early fucking...
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It just looks like American low quality to me. Like, I know what you're saying, but it just
they can do better. But the writing, it's great.
I hope it's good. I hope it's all right.
I hope it's good too, but I don't think... I mean, they're going to be going like kiddie way about it in a lot of them, so... I want to see somebody getting punched.
Yeah, I do too. We just said we love gore. But at the end of this episode, I just want to reiterate, please don't forget to use hashtag Asian Nerds so that we can give to the Pan-Pacific American Leaders and Mentors El Paso chapter. We have 3 entries into our April giveaway. I just wanted to give, although Jeremiah doesn't listen to this, I wanted to give a brief shout out to the Military Gamer Supply and Jeremiah, the owner, who have been hosting Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments 3 times a week for the past 3-4 weeks at this point. I missed today's tournament so that I could record this podcast, so I hope our audience appreciates that.
I know you've been missing it. I'm sorry, dude. I've been working so fucking much. But...
No, it's okay. It's just like I forgot how addictive it was. You know what I mean? Like, before COVID and everything, I would plan my whole week around 4 different card shops, local tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
And now it's just I'm just hyper focused on what this one shop is doing.
I wish our friends were back in town so we could play D&D.
Yeah, I want to get back into Dungeons and Dragons.
So, yeah, man, I've been looking into Dungeons and Dragons. You can create, if you know about the game enough to create roles and
we can make our own sheets
and shit like that. You can make your own sheets and make your own story.
There's whole D&D sheet and stat randomizers where you can just press the random button and you'll just get some random level 1 stats and just print and you can just hand it to somebody and be you're the fucking level 1 female fairy this week.
Hell yeah. Dude, it's crazy. The table that I showed you, that TikTok of that guy that makes his own D&D fucking playboard, that shit's fucking fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember thinking that and being I want something for card games and Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that. I almost thought about bringing my my card mats for both Nisemonogatari and Bakemonogatari for this week.
To show them to me?
No, just so that we could work on top of them because they're like mouse pads. They have the cloth print on front with the Nisemonogatari design, but then it's rubber on the bottom. But Karen,
we should get a big between nerds mat on this one.
We should. I completely agree. Before we started recording this episode, I showed you a Yugi tuber who has a podcast setup that looks like that. It has a Magic the Gathering playmat on top of it, and then it's these 2 guys with 2 different mics just freestyling, which we're also trying to think of ways to try to invest in another mic, because think about much higher the audio quality could be if we were both talking into our own mic. But I guess that's it. This has been episode 40 of Between Nerds. It was super exciting. I'm glad we were able to talk 2 hours on our sequel watch through of the Monogatari series.
Hell yeah, almost. First episode, and we're coming back. We're circling around this far ahead. We have to circle around to, Hunter x Hunter, to AOT. We have to circle around to a lot of stuff. We are planning out a lot of fucking things ahead. We're gonna put out some more polls. We're also gonna think about our next hashtag.
Yeah, we need to come up with one for the month of May. So if you have any ideas on any nonprofits you want us to donate to for the month of May, please add us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Between Nerds. You can email us questions, comments, or concerns betweennerdspodcast@gmail.com. I am at Drew Elias. He's at All These Vibes.
This has been Between
Nerds.